audio. Just wondering, guys, if you guys are on, can you guys hear me on TikTok? And do you like the screens better tonight than last night? Ooh, there's the audio. I'm wondering what mic. Oops, I just muted it. I was wondering if it was using my computer mic or my mic on my stand. Just curious. Anyway, I'm working on the digestive system today in my book prep. Thank you, PJ. Hey, Amy. Hey, Casey. Do y'all like this? Like last night, I had it on landscape. This time, I have it on portrait where it's stacked, where the Word document is here, and then the picture is right here. Can y'all see both of them better tonight? Maybe? I don't know. Which way y'all like it? Sorry about the shadows. Hey, April. Thank y'all for tapping the screen. Thank you for sharing the live, letting everybody know. Thank you for being a subscriber, April. Chapter 10. I passed that one barely. I didn't pass my first round midterm. If you're taking like AAPC's long course, they give you 2 tries each chapter. So just bring up the previous questions from the first time you take it, split your screen into 2 screens, then you can just do a Control F and search for the questions on your repeat test when you take it the second time, but I don't know what kind of course you're taking. Hello. This is an extra live, Autumn, because I can't go live tomorrow. It's a travel day for me. I'm going to Redmond, Washington. It's really close to Seattle. Tomorrow with my oldest for just a weekend getaway. Travi and James still have school on Friday and Monday, so they're staying here with Grandma. But my oldest and I are going to be traveling tomorrow to Redmond. So I'll probably go live and show y'all off some of the sites of the weekend, but it won't be medical coding. So I figured I would go live extra tonight to make up for missing tomorrow. Monday, I should be back from Las Vegas, where we fly out of, in time to do a live at 6:30 at night. My plane lands at 3:30. Now, I don't know what kind of shape I'm going to be in as far as being able to teach, but I'll be live on Monday night with something. We'll go over something, but who knows? Thank goodness for TikTok notifications. Yay! Thank you guys for tapping the screen. And April, if you haven't done so, be sure and email Twinkle if you want one of the cups that I had made for our little group. Hello, Closet Bunnies. Good to see you. Hey, Jules. Let's see, what else is in chat? I will be on YouTube and go live with it in an hour or so. And I'll have to end this live so I can go live on YouTube. I have not figured out how to do both lives at the same time with the new TikTok studio thing yet. So, and I just don't have enough time before I fly out of town to figure it out. And I just told my oldest that I'm having difficulty, but of course, because I have to go live, he didn't have time to troubleshoot it either. So my IT guy, anyway, we'll figure it out next week when I get back. But I'm going to do half the live here on TikTok and half the live on YouTube. But I will take this TikTok live and put it on YouTube for replay, just like the YouTube video will be on replay for you guys too. What certifications do you recommend taking if your first time? CPMA would be awesome, so you don't get no apprenticeship that you have to deal with. I think it's really not nice that they make you be an apprentice when you get your CPC. Does anybody know if AHEMA does that? Does CCS do that? CCS is a little bit tougher than CPC, but I don't think you get an apprentice, or do you? I don't know. I have to research that. If you got to bite the bullet and you got to know medical coding and you got to know your rules and regulations, I really like the CPMA. But both of them are just lovely, CCS and CPC. It's just trying to find a job when you have an apprenticeship. If you're already in medicine, or you have somebody that will write you a letter that say they've seen you use the CPT book, ICD-10 book, and the HipPix book in your daily duties for a year and sign their name to it, and you can turn that into a PDF, then great, especially if you've got some college hours. Even if you have an associate's degree in fine arts or whatever, English degree, that would help, or any other coding courses ever with anybody. Sending all that in can get rid of your apprenticeship. If you're brand new, never been in the medical field in your entire life, I would recommend getting 2 certificates from AAPC. CPC is the easiest. Not that it's easy, but it's easiest. And then I would back it up with a CRC, a CPMA, or any one of their specialities like family practice, cardiology, anything that perks your interest. What do you like? But I would back it up and plan on it to get 2 certificates if you're brand new, never in the area. Why do you have that? I plan on studying a prep in July. Probably won't test in 2023. I will need to buy new books. Probably, but the 2024 books I've already pre-ordered. I would start out with the CPT book. I don't think there's going to be as much changes as there was this year. Even if you just get a 2023 CPT and start with your book prep there. And there's a lot of stuff that I recommend you do to the CPT book that even if you did it to 2 books, and there happens to be a lot of changes in 2024, the practice to mark up 2 books is going to be invaluable for you if you do it the way I ask you to, for picking out the correct answers on this exam. The good thing about CPC is, and AAPC certificates, is there's no prerequisites, no course required. You can just sit for the certification exam. If you pass, then great, you're certified. You're good to go to code. You're going to have to learn how to do medical coding wherever you get a job at, it's all going to be different based off their contracts, based off the payers. None of it's going to be like what you train for in any course. And you're definitely not going to use these books anymore. So all that will be different, which is fine and dandy. The medical places you get jobs will definitely know that. No problem. But it's just not a bad idea if you can find a 2023 CPT book from like Book Run. They're on eBay. They also have their own Google store. Even if it's used, but free shipping for like $50, it's worth it just to find one and play around with it since you're starting something in July. It's really good practice. And why do I have that? If you're talking about the copyright and disclaimer, I just want to make sure you know that this is for educational purposes only, that I'm not perfect. I've made every reasonable effort to make sure that what I'm saying is correct and accurate. But, you know, I am human. I do make mistakes. So that's just a disclaimer. Of course, we're using copyrighted material. I pay for franchise fees to AMA to be able to show off the CPT book. So I'm just being respectful to their copyright. And then you know that CPC and CRC are all copyrighted certificates, so I'm being respectful to AAPC to let them know. Of course, the ICD-10 is all written out by CMS, so I'm just sharing their information here too. That's all. Just being nice. And what I've got going on here in this picture is our 2023 CPT book. There's only one maker of this book, and that's AMA. Unlike our ICD-10 and our HIPICs, you can get from different makers. But I recommend if you're going to take an AAPC certification, get their versions of the AAPC ICD-10 and the HIPICs. They have decision trees in them and other info that they put in there that they can quiz you on. That is not in an Optum version of the ICD-10 or HIPICs or other versions. So it depends on which certification you're going for, but the AMA CPT book is universal. So right now, I'm in the CPT book. I'm working on my digestive notes for you guys right now. And so I'm just on page 330 of the 2023 CPT book. This is just a picture that comes with the book that shows off the digestive system. I'm adding information to it, like prefixes and suffixes for certain body parts, like the tongue. Anytime they're talking about it, it's going to be mentioned in a word that's going to start out with GLUSSO. So, or a linguino, like I have a question coming up that I wrote for a CPT code for a particular item being removed from a jawbone, and they may say something about linguino or some other word for mouth, which could start with OR or whatever, or dent for teeth. Lips is LABI. So I just add extra information here to my anatomy that I think might be helpful for you guys during the CPC exam. So that's what I'm doing right now, was adding some info here. They forgot to write anything about the descending colon or the large intestines. They forgot the spleen, where it is. So I draw that kind of stuff in. Yes, April. What's her email? Her email is, let me see if I've got it real quick. Hold on just a sec. And let me go here. And let me go here. Go here. Always forgetting it. I'm trying to copy you. There we go. Copy. Okay. And let me get back down here to my Word document. Yes. And can I add to messages here? I don't guess I can. It'd be nice if I could chat while I'm here, but here's her email address, April. Can you see that? It's Twinkle LIL star 07@gmail.com. That is for April. Okay, so through AAPC, when you pass the test, you have an apprenticeship. If you go for the CPC, yes, a lot of their certificates don't come with apprenticeship, but this one does, unless you've already been working in coding and billing for a year and you've taken a course. They have other products that they want to sell you, which is called PractiCode. If you do that course after you pass your certificate, they'll take away your apprenticeship, but it's just another way to sell you something else. So that's why I recommend going on and getting another certificate, because you back those two up, you've got a higher likelihood of getting hired. I was talking to a lady with my child's health insurance today, and she was just, I called a 1-800 number on the back of my child's insurance card, and she was helping me with a pharmacy issue. His pharmacy benefits were being denied because they said he had additional benefits from another plan, and I'm like, no, he doesn't. So she went to searching, and you could hear her husband in the background just yelling at some kid. So I was like, oh, she's working from home. That's great. So there's a lot of jobs out there like that you can get started with and work remotely from home. And then as you got your apprenticeship, you could weigh out your apprenticeship and let your job know that, hey, I'm a CPC too, and then sneak your way into the door that way too. But anyway, I thought it was funny. Boy, him and that kid were just fighting up a storm. He was a little toddler, like he was little bitty, but Daddy was talking to him like he was grown, and the baby was just talking right back at him like he was grown, and they were arguing. It was funny. I was like, that's the life. I wish I'd been able to stay home with my toddler and work from remote like that. I've worked remote since 2013, so 10 years now, but I missed all those baby moments with my kids. That's sweet that people get to do that nowadays. All right. Hey, Katrina. Oh, it's no big deal. Hey, Latrice, you take your exam on Saturday. Be sure you know where this question is and exactly what the words stand for. Be sure. You're taking your NCCT for entry-level coding. What do you recommend after that? I'll have to look that one up. I don't know what NCCT. That's a new one for me. NCCT coding. National Center for Compensity Testing. Okay. That's cool. That's for insurance companies. Ooh. Oh, I highly recommend, if you're going to work with the insurance companies, that you go on and get the CRC from AAPC. That will not come with an apprenticeship, and it will be, you back that up with your NCCT, you could get a job working remotely from Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna, Cigna, HealthNet, you name it, any of them would love to hire you. So, yeah, that's great. That's great. That's a nice one, Casey. CRC. And I do questions for CRC with my training also. So, thank you, Missy, for the roses. You are awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Jen, for the roses, and Tay-Tay did all the microphones. Oh, that's so great. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Hey, Shirley. Thank you so much for sharing the live. Thank you guys for tapping. Is there a way to turn off people's comments on your screen? Are they showing up on my screen? I have the chat popped up out of the way. For me, I don't even see it. Let me see. I'm brand new to this studio thing. Last night I could see where the chat was and how it was laying across the screen and how it was showing up for you guys. Tonight I don't show chat at all showing up. So I don't know where it went to be able to delete it, if that makes any sense. Last night I had it. Tonight I only have these two windows supposed to be up. And then I popped out chat so that it would be visible for me to see in a bigger font because I'm old and blind. Thank you guys for the 1,600 likes. Appreciate it. Thank you to the new follower. Let me see, settings. Settings. Background, opaquency. If I turn that down, does that help? Like, I'm turning down the comment settings, activity, comments, hide potential, mute duration of the live, show comments. You want me to get rid of comments? Does that work? Does that mean I don't get to see the comments if I do that? Does that help? Oh, I may not be able to see comments because I did that. That would be terrible. Because all I'm seeing is joined and shared. Yeah, I bet I messed that up. I gotta see the comments. Okay. Comments. How do I find where I was at a minute ago? Yep. Okay. And don't forget, subscribers, y'all have fancy emojis. Yep. Okay, I had to put back the comments so I can at least see them. I'm sorry, guys. So I can answer questions. But I turned the opaquency down, so maybe, I don't know, y'all can see through them better. What certification do you recommend taking if it's your first time? Well, I love AAPC because you can purchase 2 attempts. With the HEMA, with CCS, it's $400 and 1 attempt, and there you go. With AAPC, my strategy when I took it was I took my first attempt, because you can buy 2 attempts for one price, and I booked my first attempt right away. Before I studied, before I did anything, before I had a thought in my head, and I went and not attempted it, but I went and audited the exam. I wanted to know, what do I need to study? How is their exam made up? You know, I'm already a medical auditor and have been one for over 15 years, but then I was clinical for 25, so it's been forever, since 1992. I did clinicals from 1992 to 1994, so I've been in medicine a long time, but I'd been a medical auditor since the last 15 years, so was my plan, was to even just go audit the exam. So I audited the exam, then I made my game plan of how to study. Now that I've seen the exam, I know kind of what to expect. What do I need to know? The answer's in front of me. I just have to learn how to pick out the correct answer. Mention that to my oldest son. He taught me this strategy, which I teach you guys, because he has a couple of degrees and he's a much better student than I ever was. I even did first grade twice, but he skipped grades, so it was cool. He was super smart, which helped you guys out. Then also I adopted 2 sons. One is special needs and ended up needing to be homeschooled from first grade through junior high. And teaching him math, English, social studies, language arts, all that stuff, while I worked as a medical auditor, gave me, I think, some insight on how to teach people in different ways, because he learns differently and I learn differently than anything else. I also, in my career, teach physicians how to use EHRs, and I train all the medical staff, from giving in vaccinations to OB and delivery to home health nurses. I've always had a training position for some reason or another in my healthcare field, and all that gave me the background to help you guys out, I guess. So, what certificate? That's hard to answer. I recommend getting the AAPCs because you get 2 attempts. And pick whatever you're passionate about. If you want to be an auditor, CPMA is a great certificate. If you want to do risk adjustment and work with the health plans, CRC is great. If you want to be a medical coder, CPC is great. Whatever's your interest. You got to be passionate about it. You don't want this to be a chore for you, but I do recommend AAPC because you get 2 attempts. The first attempt, don't stress yourself out. Use it as a learning tool, because you never know what to expect. I can explain to you all day long about what you're fixing to face, but it's really hard until you're there and you see what happens and what happens, so pick what you're passionate about. I am way behind on chat. You take your test on Saturday. Thank you for the microphones again. Hey, Autumn. Is there oh yeah, I tried, Autumn, to turn that off, and I'm sorry I can't, because I need to be able to read chat, and if I turn it off for you, it turns off for me too. Hey, Katrina, you're welcome. Yes, go to full screen on your device. if y'all want it to go back, if you want, like last night I went live and I had it on landscape. Tonight I have it on portrait. So my oldest walked by and he said, no, for TikTok you need to be portrait. So I was seeing if this was okay for you guys. Oh no, so do you have to call and get your date of birth fixed on your insurance? Boy, there's no way to get your date of birth fixed on your insurance. Lord, for some reason they had him as dual insured, and then they were bickering about who was going to pay for his prescriptions. And like, he does not have dual insurance. Y'all need to recheck your facts. And she did, and they couldn't find anything on the health plan side. So I got to call the pharmacy back and say, there is no dual insurance. Just run it. Because I picked up and I paid for his prescriptions last month. I just don't want to do it again this month. I'm like getting the runaround. I just may need to change pharmacies. CVS has just got their wires crossed or something. But anyway, that's all. What would you recommend getting after your CPC? Whatever you're passionate about. But definitely get 2 if you've never been in the system before and you're not currently working in a medical field. Get 2 certificates. But get something you're passionate about. Like when you get your CPC, you'll know, okay, I hate cardiology. I'm never doing that again, and you won't want to touch it. Then you won't go into cardiology specialty, you know. But AAPC has a wide range of specialty. You can do general surgery, you can do pediatrics, you can do cardiology, you can do chemotherapy. I mean, you can do transplant coding. There's so many specialities that you could get a special certificate in that particular area. They have a lot of them, so find your passion. Whatever you want. Thank you, Jen, for the roses. Yep, questions that will be on the test, Miss Cat. This one right here. And let me see. What else was there from yesterday's live? This one will definitely be on it. This one right here. Some version of this will be on your exam Saturday. Promise you. You will get either a patient did it to themselves or an MD did it to you. And there's guidelines tied to that. If you do it to yourself, you take your Aunt Sally Sue's prescription or you eat too many mushrooms, the T code goes first. If the doctor does it to you, like in this example, write your prescription, it's given to you correctly, we need the symptoms to go first. So it'll be an R code. You will have one of these kind of types on the exam. And in general, when the MD does it to you, you know the R code goes first. The second code will always have a 5 in it because that's the name of the number for the 6-digit for adverse effect. So you will have one of those questions on the exam. It might not be this question, but you will have one like that. You will have that HIPICS, acronyms. Be sure you know, what's that jugular vein? Yeah, jugular vein distension. What else? Some modifiers like SH. It's a modifier. It'll be in your HIPICS book. My brain. This question, you'll have something like this where 2 of your answers will be in one subcategory, like mental health, and then 2 of them will be in another subcategory, for your first? What are they being seen for today? You don't need to know about their history or what's going to be talked about tomorrow. That's all propaganda. What are they here for today? This is what they're here for today. Don't look at none of this other crap, and keep yourself straight. Why are they here today? You know it's for dehydration and anorexia. How many diagnoses did we have today? Did we have 2 or did we have 3? Today we only had 2. You will have something like that. That one's easy just because if you have something where they're all super close, but one of them's coded out to the 6th digit and everything else is coded out to the 5th digit, pick the one that's the 6th digit because they want you to be super specific. Yeah. Yep. That's a normal, easy one. Guidelines, sequel effect, could be on the exam. Diabetes, another guideline one. You end up having 7 questions. The most questions will be guidelines. So stuff like these questions are super helpful to know. And then let's get down here to the ones we haven't done the past 2 days. I'm redoing 2 questions from last night just because I wanted to make sure everybody got to see that one. This one, because I made up this one. So if we go to these codes, they're all in the same area, right? They all have the same first 3 digits. The difference is we've got 2 that are in the 40s and 2 that are in the 30s. They could all be in the same header, but if there is a difference between the headers, that could help us eliminate 2 answers right away. But I think these are the ones that are all under the same header. But when you see differences like that, be sure and look for headers before you do descriptors. So what I mean by that is we're not going to look for CPT code descriptors. We're going to go look for main bold headers. And look for headers before you do descriptors if they're different. But I think all these are under the same header. So, and I can't show you my book on this one because it's going to give you the answer. You can't cheat with this one. So, I'm going to blank that out because if you've got my notes, then you know the answer. But what if you don't have my notes and you just have what's in the CPT book and what is written for the CPT code descriptor? How could you do this question? So right here, we've got a patient who had their jaw area worked on. All they did was transect a nerve. So our 36 is our first code. And that says mental, mental nerve. Do you know where that nerve is at? What part of the body? If you look at 32, it starts above the eyebrow because that's supraorbital in the eye socket. So it's right above the eye socket because supra means above. So right above the eye socket is your eyebrow area. If you look at the last one, down at the bottom, the 64760, it says vagus nerve. Where's the vagus nerve? It's in your stomach. It's tied to your gag reflex and all that stuff. You'd hear about the vagus nerve. It can be controlled by a lot of things. You can be shocked and scared and pass out from the vagus nerve, but you can also be gagged in the throat area too from that. So it's kind of interesting, long branches of nerves, but all these other ones are in between the eyebrow and the tummy, is my point. Our 38 code is inferior, I don't even know how to say that, alveolar. And then we've got our 40 code, which is linguinal nerve. And then 42 is our facial nerve. Which one do you guys think is the correct one for this one? Where would we be for jawbone? And I'm sorry if I missed your message or chat about anything. Thank you, PJ, for subscribing. I really appreciate it. The support helps bring memberships for other people and free notes from my books for people and free workshops for people. Y'all subscriptions, I get $2 from each one, and that goes straight back into our little community to help other people. So I appreciate it. Yep, PJ, you got it right. So if you get a copy of my notes, which are on my website if you want them, you'll know this sort of stuff like this, that the 3/8 is part of the lower jawbone. So if it's got a definition in it that I don't know what the word means, or if I think that you guys won't know what the word means, I go in and write what body part, aka term, it might be, so that you've got it for when you take the exam, which is super helpful to go into. But if you haven't already, go on to that CPT code right here, the 3/8, and put jawbone next to it. That way, that helps you out. All right. And this one we did last night. I just want to remind you that with this question, the first thing, if I see I'm in the nervous system and I see a T code with some regular CPT codes, I'm going to think about, the alarm is going to go off in my head, and I'm going to think radiology. When you see a category 2 code, because that is in the CPT book, but it's in the category 2 codes, it's in the back of the book, past medicine. It's around 850 something page number. If I see a T code with a nervous system code, I'm going to think radiology. And why did I spell raid that way? I'm not sure. All right, I'm going to think about radiology. Ooh, unstable network. Sorry if this is glitching and y'all aren't hearing everything. So I'm going to look and see our radiology was ultrasound. I know that the only radiology that CPT codes, category 1 codes does, is CT and fluoroscope. Only ultrasounds are always the T codes in the back of the book, past medicine. So I know without reading the question, just looking at the answers, picking out what kind of radiology they used, I'll know what the answer is in like 5 seconds with this type of question. So remember, ultrasounds for nervous systems, and I'm not talking the entire book of CPT, I'm talking these 6,000s. If I see a T code with it, I'm going to go check my question for the radiology. If it was fluoroscope, I'm staying here with these 3, and I'll get rid of A. But if it's ultrasound, I'm picking A and moving on to my next question, because you got 120 seconds per question. That way you have time to go back to questions that gave you trouble, and you've got time to do the 10 cases at the end. Don't forget about your place of services. You want to be sure and know those for the exam this Saturday. For sure, for sure. I don't know why you're doing that. This thing is so silly. Yeah, TikTok gives me about an hour, and then they start slowing down my transmissions for some reason. Here's another guideline question. It was a 23, not a 22. So where are we at? 23? Oh, wrong one. I'm looking at modifiers. Why am I looking at modifiers? 23. I don't know if I agree with that one. It's really outpatient services. It really would be 22. This question may be incorrect. You might be right. Because they're not admitted. I don't know. It does say they're in the ED, in the ER, but the ER is outpatient services. It's not inpatient. So we're definitely not a 21. A lot of people will pick 21 for the ER. Just be sure you know that 21 is never going to be the correct answer for ER. But this one I have down 23. Emergency treatment. I don't know why it wouldn't be 22 for outpatient hospital. I don't know. I don't have the rationale with that one, so I may have picked the wrong answer, but I'll take either one. All right, this one for our 6535. Which one is the answer for that one? Is this going to be a craniotomy that has a bone flap? A craniotomy that, this one has a bone flap too, but this one's subdural? Or are we doing a removal? This one has no flap. No flap. And this one has no flap. B is correct, Boutique. You got it right. Good job. Which code category can only be reported as the first diagnosis? Be sure for your exam Saturday, you know where this page is in your ICD-10 book. So, if we go to like page 34 in your ICD-10 guidelines. So whatever ICD-10 book you've got, you know, some of them are, you go to the front where you've got your G1, G2, G3, all these lovely guidelines that are part of your, they could be in the front of your ICD-10 book, they could be in the very back, they could very well not be labeled as G something like mine are, but they should have page numbers. Right around G33, there is this page that says Z codes may be only be principal or first diagnosed if they're in this list. And the list goes to the bottom, and then it starts over on the second column and is right there. It has a few exceptions in the middle. There's one there, and there's one right there. Just be sure you know those two are exceptions. But I would just know where this piece of paper is and be able to find it. So you can go Z67. Is that right here on this list? Instead of going through each code in the back of the book and trying to find it, this list is all of them. So you can check them off. 67 is not here. 58 is not here. The only one that is here is Z02. It's down here. So Z02, you know, is your answer. It's a lot faster than going to each one of those 3 digits to find out. And it's only going to say, go see your guidelines on page whatever. But it's going to say like C1 16 point whatever guideline. It won't even actually tell you what page to go look at. So that's a handy page to know where it is in the book. Patients can request copies of disclosure for HIPAA under HIPAA for how long? Hey CPG, thanks for joining. You do not need a lawyer with you when you ask for copies of your records. Is it for 2 years, for 6 years, or never? A note on page 77, can you talk about it for a little bit? Oh, Lord. What'd I do wrong this time? Let's see, let me move this thing around. I'm going to have to end this live pretty quick. I'm almost at an hour, and I got to go live at 6:30 for YouTube. Page 77, did she say? Which note? Good God Almighty, I got a million notes on this page. Lord, which one? I kind of decimated this page. Even the freaking bottom. I wrote footnotes down here. I wrote a bunch. It's a hot mess. God, I see more stuff I could do. I hate looking at my work because then I see more stuff I could work on. There's nothing. It's a wonder I ever put any notes out for anybody because I could sit here and audit this forever and never be done. It is for 6 years. On this question. Provider knows that an evaluation and management services they provide on the same date as a major procedure will be bundled. So he submits a claim for an E&M with a different data service. This is an example of fraud, abuse, practice that is not wrong but not recommended, or a good way to increase revenue. The one on the side says do not use. That is right, PJ, that is right. So this long one that I have on the side here says do not use modifier 50 or modifier 51 on add-on codes. I have the plus symbol if bilateral add code plus times 2 is what this says. So what that means is, I was just in nervous system. It's got a really good example of all of this. Somewhere back here. Let me see if I can find them. Oh yeah, I know what I'm looking for. Right here. This little chart is a great example of that. So if you're in your CPT book 2023, page 480, I'm near CPT codes 4491 and 92, 93. So what this means is some codes are just the codes by themselves, and then other codes have a plus symbol in front of them. What that means is, for this code, if it was bilateral, I would add the modifier 50 to it to say that I was right and left, that kind of thing. But if I needed to add this code to it and it was also bilateral, I can't add modifier 50 to an add-on code. What I have to do is write times 2. So this little chart is a great example of where one code that is bilateral, you do the modifier 50. The add-on code that's underneath it, you would hit times 2 to show that it was bilateral. So any codes with the plus symbol in front of it, they actually, none of them get modifiers of any sort, much less the 50 or the 52 or 51, but especially not those two mods. We always multiply them. They're the only ones that we do multiply. If we needed to multiply or do 2 of this procedure that does not have the times in front of it, I would add the 59 modifier to it and I would bill it twice. Or if I'm in Lab and Path, I would bill it twice and add the 91 modifier to it. It all depends on which section of the books you're under, but one good thing to remember is that the plus symbols do not get any modifiers. So I start out my surgery section of notes for all of surgery, because that's where integumentary is the start of surgery. So all of surgery. This has all your surgery guidelines for the whole rest of the book. So the very first page that I have any notes at all for you guys, I start out with that long one down the side about the plus symbols mean no 50 and no 51, and that could go for any section of the book, but in particular it also works really well for that. But you can write it a lot smaller, like you can do something like I did here on the top of this page that just simply says plus symbol equals times equals no modifier 50 or 51. But, or you can write that info underneath every single one that's got a plus symbol, which I do for you guys too. I let you know it's a times, and a lot of times I'll put don't bill with modifier 51 or something like that, especially if it's a crazy section. I know the nervous system, I just finished doing that and put down no 50s modifiers on all of them too. Some sections I get lazy and just put the top of the page for you to remember, but however you can remember, that's what we've got going on. This is a fraud question. Yep, for right and left. You're welcome. All right, guys, I got to end this live on TikTok. I hope you guys will join me on YouTube. It's free. We're going to continue this. I got a lot more questions we're going to practice, and I will see you guys over there. Just go to Medical Coding by Jen YouTube, and I will be live there in just a few seconds. Thank you, guys. Thank you again, Tay-Tay, PJ, Jen, and Misty for all the gifts. We really appreciate it. All of us, because it's going to help everybody. I'll see y'all over there. Thank y'all for tapping all the likes. I got 2,635 likes and 110 comments. That's awesome. And 1 new follower. Thank you. I'll see y'all then. Yep, we're going to